Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Sunday. We're going to have time for one more Sunday storybook, and then we're going to start getting into our Easter stories. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Unfortunately, the sad thing about Easter is that is when Jesus dies, but it's going to be okay because he rises again, and we'll learn all about that. So we're going to have a story today called Jesus' Miracles. And this just is an idea of some of the wonderful things that Jesus did when he was on earth. We talked about that Jesus said such wonderful things and did such amazing things that people began to follow him. And we've said that a lot in some of the stories that we tell from the Bible. So I want to show you what some of those amazing things are. We know the wonderful things he said because we did some parables. Those were the stories that Jesus told to help people understand the big ideas about heaven and about God and the 10 best ways to live. Those were the things that Jesus told everybody. And today we're going to look at these, some of the things Jesus did to show everybody about God's power and how amazing it is. Jesus' miracles. Now, friends, this is a very big book. So I'm actually going to put it right in front of me so you can see the pictures better. Move it back a little, okay? So I'll see you after the story. Jesus' miracles. Jesus did many wonderful and amazing miracles to show God's power. Let's learn about some of Jesus' wonderful miracles. You'll see it's true that Jesus can do anything. Jesus, Mary, and the disciples were at a wedding party in the town of Cana. There were hungry, thirsty people at the party. Soon, Mary noticed a big problem, and she ran to find Jesus. Mary knew Jesus could help. "Jesus, can you help us?" asked Mary. "They've run out of wine to drink." "Fill 6 jugs with water," Jesus said to the servants. The servants did as Jesus said. "Now, pour the water into a cup," said Jesus. The servants poured water into a cup, and what do you think happened? Wine came pouring out. Jesus had turned the water into wine. Everyone was amazed at the miracle, but Mary knew Jesus can do anything. Not long after Jesus' miracle of turning water into wine, Jesus and his disciples walked toward the Sea of Galilee. Jesus had been teaching all day. It was evening, and Jesus was tired. "Let's sail to the other side of the lake," said Jesus. They climbed into their boat and set sail. Jesus laid his head on a cushion and soon fell fast asleep. A raging storm came upon the sea. Wind tossed the sails. Waves crashed over the sides of the boat. The disciples were scared. "What shall we do?" they asked. "We'll surely drown." The disciples ran to wake Jesus. Jesus woke up. He walked to the side of the boat and raised his arms. Jesus spoke to the roaring wind. He spoke to the crashing waves. "Quiet, be still," commanded Jesus. The wind became still. The waves became calm. The disciples could hardly believe their eyes. "Who is this man that even the wind and water obey him?" they asked. Do you know who he is? He's Jesus, right? Jesus can do anything. One day, Jesus and his 12 disciples climbed a high hill. A great crowd of 5,000 people listened to Jesus teach about God. They were so excited to be with Jesus that they didn't even realize it was time for dinner. But Jesus knew. "Where can we buy food for these hungry people?" the disciples asked. The disciple named Andrew spotted a young boy in the crowd. The boy had a basket with 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish. Andrew said, "Here's a boy with some bread and fish, but how can we feed all the people with this little bit of food?" Jesus said, Tell the people to sit down. I'll give thanks to God for this bread and fish." After Jesus gave thanks, he fed the bread and fish to all those hungry people. Think of it. Jesus made 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish feed 5,000 people. Not one person went hungry. Then Jesus told the disciples to gather the leftovers into baskets. The disciples filled 12 more baskets with food. What a feast they had! All because Jesus can do anything. When evening came, Jesus stood on the shore and watched the wind carry the disciples' boat out to sea. A short time later, Jesus wanted to be with the disciples, but there were no boats to sail in. Guess what Jesus did? Jesus walked on the water toward the boat. When the disciples saw Jesus, they were afraid. "Look, a ghost!" they shouted. "Don't be afraid," said Jesus. "It's me." But Peter wasn't sure. "If it's really you, let me walk on the water too," he said. Peter stepped on the water and walked toward Jesus. But when the wind blew and the waves splashed, Peter looked away from Jesus and began to sink. "Help me," cried Peter. Jesus caught Peter and helped him into the boat. The disciples were amazed. They worshiped Jesus and said, "You are the Son of God." And the disciples knew that Jesus can do anything. So that was a pretty good story. It gave us a good idea of some of the miracles that Jesus performed and some of the things that he did. That's what made people follow him. They realized, like the folks in our book, Jesus can do anything. And since Jesus is God's son, he's a part of God. And it really helped all of the people that didn't know about God yet. They didn't know about the kingdom of heaven or the 10 best ways to live. When Jesus went around and did his miracles, it really helped people believe in God and believe that Jesus can do anything. And with Jesus's love and God's love, that they would be safe. They would know about the kingdom of heaven, and that they would be saved. So boys and girls, next week we're going to start talking about Easter and all of the things that lead up to Easter. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye, friends.